Change is uncomfortable, painful even, but I'm sure that's not news to anyone. I myself can be very averse to change, while also being seized by bouts of craving it, if it feels like I'm stagnating, or if my life doesn't feel like it's moving forward. I'm desperate for growth, but terrified of change. Maybe you can relate to this. When I'm looking out there in the world for people who have made something of themselves for guidance, I'm often annoyed with all of the hollow advice that seems to dominate the motivational spaces. It feels so meaningless, like bumper sticker encouragements, with no clear instructions on how to move forward. Yet I'm still out here hoping that Google can find me the perfect quote on change that will not only rewire my broken brain, but motivate me to be a real success. But what do I even mean by success? Realistically, I just want to be left alone to make what I want to make, and to be able to maybe make a modest living while doing it. I wasted a lot of my 20s trying and failing to be a girl boss, when I'm more like a girl moss.
Please clap.
The more that I'm on that grind, the more that I lost myself, culminating in a spectacular burnout. Now in my 30s, I'm really struggling to move forward, because I just don't have the energy and unbridled, naive enthusiasm that I once did. Growth comes with a healthy dose of failure, but the ability to dust myself off and keep trying and keep failing comes with a significant energy cost, and sometimes it feels like my body rejects it. I've got a delicate Victorian constitution, and I can't accept change as easily as others seem to, though it comes for me all the same. That's when I start feeling like everything is moving too fast and I'm falling behind. Though I've learned lately that a lot of that is an illusion, usually perpetuated by social media. It's certainly not easy to live this way, being wary and hesitant to change. I can sense the people around me getting frustrated and impatient. Everyone else seems to be moving at a different pace, like I'm experiencing time differently. It's hard to learn to adapt, and it can be especially alienating when you're working and existing outside of the rat race. It really changed my priorities when I opted out of that life. There's nothing inherently wrong with a simple little life, if you can find peace and contentment. There's no shame in being where you are now, because every state is temporary. Sure, things could always get worse, so all the more reason to look for those beautiful little moments now. It might sound depressing, but I think it's the fear of missing out and the dissatisfaction of wanting that has caused me the most unhappiness. You can get such silly ideas of what life is supposed to look like from comparing yourself. The key to my happiness, even the little scraps that I've managed to gather so far, has been low expectations and practicing gratitude, by way of me thanking the universe for a safe place to have a panic attack and sometimes a little cheese in the fridge. I used to think it was a ridiculous idea to warn people of getting too comfortable. You hear that a lot from motivational types. I would love to be too comfortable, but I think it was the language that really tripped me up. It's not a danger of being too cozy, too snug. The danger lies in getting used to being uncomfortable to such a degree that you trick yourself into accepting what we are used to as true comfort, rather than figuring out what we actually can change in order to improve things for ourselves. An apathy or a false sense of well-being that sets in because we can't see past our current circumstances. There is also a great resistance which comes from an aversion to pain and failure, or often just the pain of failure. Our bodies remember, sometimes on a subconscious level, what we've been through. My muscles tend to seize up when I approach jumping over a metaphorical canyon that my body and mind agree that I could potentially die in, or more accurately, humiliate myself in. But that fear has to be tackled, because that resistance to change, though honestly come by, will inevitably lead to stagnation. So what is to be done? In my experience, the only sustainable solution to tackling this fear of change is to take active steps towards it. Even if they are the smallest of baby steps, it's much better than standing still. After all, slow and steady wins the race. When I manage to build up enough energy, I like to get out of my comfort zone by literally getting out of my comfort zone. Things have to kind of be on the upswing. The clouds have to part a little and allow in a ray of sunshine before I can even entertain the idea of change. Otherwise, it's just a desperate impulse, which can certainly be a catalyst for change. But it's probably best to vent that potential chaos by incorporating a bit of change into my little routines. A change of scenery often sparks a change of mindset and helps me see my own life a little clearer by stepping outside of it. I'm not a wilderness gal, but I do love nature. I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by some beautiful countryside and walking paths, and every summer we go on a little camping trip. It's like a routine change that I can both expect and look forward to. There's enough time to prepare, to anticipate potential points of discomfort that I can mitigate and pack for, while leaving behind the things or even the ways of living that I don't need, for a little peace and quiet and rest. Nothing else has really worked to break me out of the creative funk I've been in lately more than this camping trip. More accurately, I've been in a depressive episode, which isn't really as romantic as the idea of a creative block, especially when there's this common misconception about pain being this sacred artistic fuel. Realistically, pain just leaves you writhing, hardly able to grasp a paintbrush or to form a coherent sentence. I think that it's really only after the storm passes that you can meaningfully reflect on what you've just been through, at least speaking for myself. When things are going well enough, and I recognize and appreciate little moments of comfort or relief from the depression, when I have the energy to ask myself realistically if there's anything more I could be doing, anything I might have the energy for, without the dark clouds gathering and ruining it all, raining out my little picnic. I found that camping was actually something I had the energy for, even though it wasn't something I'd ever really done before. I used to think that I'd never be the kind of person who could enjoy camping. I have so much anxiety, especially considering the bathroom situation. But this park has clean facilities that are close to the campground, and it's like a beautiful mini nature walk on the way, which I find myself missing a little at home, though I guess I could just get a lot more houseplants to mimic that feeling. There's no pressure here to be around other people or to socialize. And if you look like a bum, who cares? We're all campers here. I've come to this park for the past 3 years, so there is a lovely familiarity. There are little secret places to visit and revisit, and I know where all the important things are and what to expect. It's also something nice to build some aspirational dreams on. Driving past enormous gardens, country homes nestled in the woods, or imagining a sunny studio overlooking the river. These are the things I'd like to work towards someday. It's scientifically proven that walking through forests and just being around trees is good for your body and mind. And I certainly tried to breathe in all of the fresh air that my lungs could hold, especially when at home the pollution makes the night sky glow neon orange. After this little trip, I feel recharged. I feel like there's more that I want to see and experience out of this beautiful world, and that it's not all doom and gloom and apocalypse. There are still beautiful plants and places, and some people are pretty okay too. Now I feel like I can finally stand back and analyze how much change my current energy levels will realistically allow. This little break has positive effects on my creative problems as well. Camping forces me to be realistic in a practical sense. I only have a finite amount of space that I can comfortably fill up, so what can I leave behind and still be comfortable with? I think that so much of the fear of change is actually the fear of letting go. If there's one creature that we use to represent the beauty of change, it's the butterfly. It has such an iconic and noticeable transformation, a real glow-up. But it's a rough road to becoming a butterfly. It's not just a matter of wishing and longing. In fact, a caterpillar has no idea what he's in for. This little guy nearly got cut in half, and probably wouldn't have survived without human intervention. Monarch butterflies are endangered, and it's not hard to see why. Caterpillars are not intelligent creatures. They exist to eat and grow and poop a lot. They have no natural defenses except for their camouflage and markings. Babies of any species are inherently vulnerable, and it's not like butterflies stick around after laying their eggs. I think I feel the need to help them because I relate to them. We humans are pretty vulnerable and helpless ourselves, in the grand scheme of things. I can barely take care of myself sometimes, but even on the bad days, I can still muster up just enough energy to take care of the caterpillars, and it taught me to fill in the information that was missing from those motivational quotes and bumper sticker philosophies about change. It's not just a matter of wanting things to be different, or even planning for things to be different. These creatures, more delicate than myself, taught me that in order to actually change, a part of you has to die and be reabsorbed and recycled into the new you, and that's terrifying. I like to do something drastic in order to get out of a period of stagnation. Usually I'll give myself a haircut. I like to grow it out really long and then chop it all off. Once I even shaved my head. It's a literal weight off my shoulders. I find that hair is so sacred that it really feels transgressive to just chop it off myself. I've known people to cry at bad haircuts, and I've had my fair share. In grade 3, I let my friend cut my bangs, and she panicked and I had a bald spot for a while. I was already bullied, so this was a real cherry on the sundae. I wasn't allowed to stay home, and I learned a real lesson about vanity and humiliation. Once my hair no longer serves me, once it becomes a burden, I let it go. It is something completely within my own control to change. It's also fun and interesting to see how other people react to it. But if something is too much, it's okay to let it go. If you want to move forward, you're going to have to reroute energy from somewhere else, even if it feels like there's precious little to go around. Imagine telling a butterfly, "I liked you better when you were a caterpillar." Well, I'm not that anymore, so bye. It feels very symbolic, shedding your old self, spiritual even. And it's not just hair that you're free to let go of. Your old self, your old ways of thinking, things that you might not realize you were carrying on your back that will make you lighter, when you need most to fly above it all. I feel like you can get too precious with ideas in just the same way. The more that I let go of what kind of artist I thought I needed to be, and just let the art come out the way it wanted to, the more that I'm surprised. Just like a bad haircut, I worried that people would think that something was wrong with the person attached to the artwork if it didn't come out quite right. But that was another cleverly disguised fear of failure. Something left over from an era that a weird painting or a story could get you burned at the stake or sent off somewhere out of the way for correction. When things seem messy or uncomfortable, but I'm honestly trying, even in tiny ways, I have to remind myself that I must be in a particularly gooey part of my own metamorphosis, and I'll just need to wait and see what it will all look like in the end. You change, but often the world and the people around you stay the same. What changes is how you are able to navigate through. We are lucky in many ways that we are human and not butterflies. A butterfly really only has the one big life change, but as humans, we have a nearly infinite potential for it. Sometimes it can feel like a meaningful change takes money and resources, but you'd be surprised at how much potential for real change is right in front of you, or even just waiting dormant inside. And a lot of the time, it's more about letting go than accumulating something new anyway. Plus, we have the benefit of not liquefying and splitting open when we want to change up our look or ways of thinking. I'm just glad that I can help them through their changes, because in a lot of ways, the butterflies have helped me through my own. So good luck with all of your own changes, but don't be so hard on yourself if you think you're falling behind. Just take it one baby step at a time and keep an eye on your energy levels. Thank you so much for watching.